Here we are in Eclipse again, and now we're going to do some practice with array lists. I'd like to do the same things that we did with arrays, only using array lists. So I'm in my Lesson 4 Java project, and I'm going to create a new class, and this time I'm going to call it array lists, giving myself a public static void main method. Finish this up. Here's my initial code. So right here I'm going to create myself an array list to store some integers. We'll put some numbers in and find the biggest and smallest and the average like we did before. So I'm going to say array list. Notice I have to put something in the angle brackets, the less than, greater than. What is it going to be an array list of? Let's make this an array list of integers. And I'll call it my nums. Now, notice, Eclipse is complaining. I've got this red X. Array list cannot be resolved to a type. And I've got the little squiggly red lines under array list. If I hover my mouse pointer there, it says, hey, it can't be resolved to a type, but, you know, Java has something called an array list. Is this what you want? I'll click on the import. It puts this statement in up here. The little red X goes away. Now I will say my nums equals new array list of integers. And the parentheses to show that I'm not passing anything into the constructor for array list. And now I'm going to go through my code that puts some numbers in. Now, let's do the random numbers like we did before. So I'm going to have something called random. My random equals new random. And notice it complains that it can't find random until I import it, but I'll let Eclipse do that for me. And now for how many numbers should we give ourselves? Oh, let's say 10. For I equals 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Go through a loop that says my nums dot add. I have to give it an integer. What integer am I going to give it? Well, I could give it the integer I, or I squared, or I could print something out on the console and have you enter what number you want, but I'm just going to give it a random number. My random dot next int numbers from, oh, say 0 to 99. Okay, I have now added a random number here. Now, what's Eclipse complaining about here? It says, oh my goodness, I can't be resolved to a variable. And I've used I 3 times. Well, of course it can't, because I forgot to say int I. So that'll fix all of those problems. Now, let's go through and print out what's in this array list. I'm going to do for I equals 0, I less than, I don't have to put 10 here. I can say, hey, array list, tell me how big you are. My nums dot size, and I plus plus. There's my for loop. System.out.println element I has a value of, and I'll do my nums.get I. Okay. Yeah, I forgot to do int I again here. That'll fix all of those problems that Eclipse was complaining about. Right now, let's just run this and see what we get. Element 1, or let's see, I should have an element 0, so let's scroll up so that I can see that. Element 0 has a value of 56, element 1 has a value of 92, and so on. Okay, now let's go through and find the biggest. I'm going to do int biggest equals some number that's smaller than any of the ones I know I'm going to get. And now let's loop through them again. This time, instead of using a regular for loop, let's use an enhanced for loop. For integer entry colon my nums. Okay, what is this going to do? It's going to go through the entire array list my nums. Each time through the loop, it'll put a value into entry. So I don't have to do mynums.get in here. I can say if entry is bigger than the biggest one, then biggest equals entry. At the end of this loop, biggest has the value that I need. Now let's go find the average. How did we do that before? We had a variable called average, and we had an integer called total that we started out at 0, and we looped through everything. For integer entry in mynums, total plus equal entry, and at the end of this, average equals double total divided by double mynums.size, and we will do system.out.println the biggest value is biggest, and the average value is average. Save that, run it, and it's going to print out all of these values, 49, 3, 90, and so on. Tell me the biggest value is 97, the average value is 62.7. Run it again. Biggest is 95, the average is 51.8. One last time, the biggest is 88, the average is 49.3. So we've gone through the array list using a regular for loop. We've gone through the array list using the enhanced for, or the for each loop. And we've been able to add elements and reference elements. So hopefully this will be a good start for you when you use array lists in your programming assignments. Happy programming!